Hi, everybody. Welcome to your Wednesday market call. My name's Lee Honish. I am occasionally the chief economist, occasionally the marketer, and the guy behind Home Advocates. I am joined, as always, by my friend and broker here in California, Fred Solomon. No, there was a dramatic pause. I was trying to do dramatic pause, and I was trying to think of more things to put in there because it's not really fair. You're a mortgage broker. You're a real estate broker. You have over 30 years experience. You're a speaker. You're a radio personality. There's a lot to you, Fred. And I keep trying to think that I need to add more, much why I call myself an economist, even though I'm not. I don't know if economists are economists actually at this point, Fred. But you are generally all around one of the nicest humans I know. Fred Solomon, how are you, Fred?
Thanks, Lee. What I appreciate about this group is that we learn from each other, and I'm okay spending an hour and a half of my time a couple of days a week and just sharing information that I know, but also, with Terrell and some of the guys and people that have been part of the group for a long time. We all give each other information and we can all learn from each other. So I'm not just here to give information, I'm also here to learn. And, there's been some things that Sally has said that I've written down about health directives and how to stop people from doing certain things with the living trust, or had, what was it, like some type of clause that you can put it. I wrote it down, Sally, but there was some type of clause so that other family members could not interrupt what was written in the living trust. A poison pill, yeah, that was really good stuff that I've learned that I've never would have known unless I brought up the fact that we were talking about living trust one day, and a scenario that happened to one of my clients. So it's good to share knowledge. It's good to learn, and that's what this group is all about. And you never know what day you're going to wake up and fall over and learn something. And when you brush yourself off, everybody's here to support each other. And so it's a family. I don't know if that's a good way of putting it, but it feels a little bit like that. And so we can all give each other input, and there's some smart people here in this that are part of the group. So kudos to all of us for that.
Absolutely. I agree. And I would argue it's probably one of the oldest coaching calls, at least in this particular genre and field. I'm sure there are calls with Mike and Tom and Craig that they do on a certain day that they've been doing for 20 or 30 years. Cool. We generally try to make Wednesday available to everybody in the industry off and on. But for default properties, this goes back to 2010. I mean, you're talking, what, about a decade with David Bartels, more or less. And now Fred coming in. I think people would just get tired of listening to me personally. I realize that I talk in my own head, and everything I say in my head makes sense to me. Jane is way before David, but I didn't do a Wednesday. If you ask me, I don't know short sale genius call dates. I think theirs was on a Thursday. This particular Wednesday call is certainly minimum 13 years old, minimum, where I don't think that there's been a Wednesday missed. I think there are a couple of rare occasions where there was Christmas on a Wednesday call, but other than that, that's a lot of calls. It's a lot of calls.
Yeah. Well, and it's a lot of information, and it's a lot of different ways to help people. And a lot of the information you give out, Lee, is free.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, of course, you know, you do red calls and you do email marketing and you do Facebook marketing for people and stuff like that. You've done, you know, you offer those services, but a lot of the stuff that we give out and the info that we give out is free. Like, for example, that thing that I did yesterday at the end of the day, that loan cost analysis that I did, you know, that is something that you won't find from, I don't want to be arrogant when I say this, but I doubt 1 out of 10,000 loan officers has a tool like that to fully help a buyer understand whether they should pay points, fees, and closing costs. Because when you get into paying points, fees, and closing costs, especially with this new thing that's coming out in 5 days and starting May 1st, you know, you really got to analyze it now. You really do. And you got to see if it makes sense to buy down the rate. And those are really important things that a buyer needs to know. And I have tools to help people with that. The average person doesn't analyze numbers the way that I do, because I had a father who was a CPA, and I'm not trying to pat myself on the back. I'm just saying those are things that I'm so glad that that a buddy of mine, Jimmy, he was working for a huge guy, lender, Wesley Hogan from Lennox Financial. You probably heard his commercials 100 times. He goes, "It's the biggest no-brainer in the history of mankind." And I had 2 buddies. One of them was a fraternity brother of mine from San Diego State, and my buddy Jimmy, and they were both from San Diego. We all went to school together, and they were working there. And they finally called me up and said, "Fred, I'd like to get back in the loan business, or I want to come work for you." And I'm like, "Okay, sure." And that was it. And that's when they started talking to me about doing zero-cost loans. And I never understood the power of a zero-cost loan. And that changed. And I've told this to Jimmy. I took him out probably during COVID, maybe within the last year or so, and we're still friends to this day. He started his own company now, but I took him out and I go, Jimmy, if you wouldn't have harassed me and asked me to, take a look at these zero-cost loans, and if he wouldn't have spent the time to show me everything that I showed you guys yesterday, if he wouldn't have done that, I don't think I would have been able to buy the house that I bought or the cars that I bought. Obviously it's slow right now, but just like anything, it's going to pick back up. And I'm not going anywhere. I love this business. I love it. I love what I do. The stress is not fun, but what is fun about it is giving people information to help them make smart financial choices. Kind of like a Sally Ellis, kind of like a Steve Love, where they're giving advice to a group of people that can benefit from the advice that they give. And that's what it's all about, in my opinion, to do that.
It's a good opinion. I think there's another key that you share with Sally, Steve, and a few other people on this call. It's diversification of information. You're not a one-trick pony. I've said it probably a million times over the past 13 years. Real estate agents are indoctrinated to the company line of real estate. They just are. It's how the brokers feed it. It's the people they bring in to teach them. It's how do I make the better TikTok video? I don't need to know about the market. My market's fine. I see it all the time when I go and talk to real estate agents, especially here locally in Southern California. Well, yeah, your market's fine. That's not the story that your homeowners know. And that's kind of been the message. What makes you unique? What makes Sally unique? Steve can talk about investments as well, right? And the range of experience. Sally is across the board. Same with Terrell. right? T. Miller is incredibly diversified as an educator. You do both loans and real estate, and approach it from a different perspective. Don Betts, Colorado, very sharp about the economy. That's not a standard realtor MO. And I think that really makes a difference, Fred.
You know, the other one that's really smart is Brendan out of Florida.
Yeah, Brendan. Yeah.
He's really smart. He understands the market very well. And so that's good that we have those kind of people here to share with us. And then, you know, people like Marvin Miles, who have taken advantage of the information that we've shared.
You're talking about an investor and a real estate agent with experience who knows everybody. And when I mean know everybody, you really don't know till you go to a hockey game and you're sitting with the mayor of, say, Carlsbad, you know, and they know each other. Like, it's all good times. The connections and the people, and then taking advantage of, let me say that correctly, utilizing good market information to help you propel your business and to help your clients at the end of the day. And everybody you just mentioned, like Tina Herman, Sarah Jane, you're also talking about people that really care about their clients, right? Antonio's a great case of that, right? Bleeding to death for a client.
I want to share something with people. And none of the people are in my area, so I can share this with you. Dave Ramsey, you know, is this.
Don't get me started.
Yeah,
I have a total Dave Ramsey rant that I've never shared.
I just want people to know that you can sign up for Dave Ramsey leads, and they're high quality leads, by the way. And my buddy John out here, he is I think there's 1 or 2 per area or city, just 1 or 2. And I don't know what area everybody is in, but I think Regina is in like the Victorville area, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
And so I don't think that Dave Ramsey would be, you know, so just go to the website and see if you can sign up as one of the, now you have to pay for this stuff, but I see what my buddy John does with those leads. And I get a lot of Dave Ramsey referrals from John because, you know, they don't always want to sell. They want to do a refi or something. And I'm kind of his go-to guy. And you can go and sign up for some of his leads. And he's, the leads are high quality. And I know that you can make money with some of those leads. And these are people that are looking to do real estate transactions. So check that out. I highly recommend it because I've been watching my buddy John with those leads for the last 2 or 3 years. And they are very consistent and they are very good leads. So
there you go. No, it's not a bad call. It's the same thing I tell REO people. I would, if you're an investor and a real estate agent, you want to sign up for those. You're getting first look at the lead, which gives you an opportunity to buy. If not, for those of you that have a license as well, gives you the opportunity to list. I also like signing up to do BPOs. That's first look data. I realize that most of those companies have rules about not approaching those homeowners. However, that data by itself, to me, would be worth its weight in gold. Plus you get paid for BPOs, which is not a great business model to spend more on gas doing a BPO. I would do it strictly for the data. That's just me. I think diversification of data and data sources right now is monumental in the current market. Let's jump into some market data for you. Screen share. There we go. I'll share sound just for the sake of sharing it. Turn that off. Pull this down. Okay. Who chatted Bart? What's the phone number for Dave Ramsey?
Oh, I don't know, but I'm sure you can Google it.
You can.
I,
I
I
mean, I've
really
got
don't.
it up. It really wouldn't be that hard. Dave Ramsey, real estate leads. It's even listed on there. There you go. Ramsey Solutions. Right here.
Yeah, a Ramsey Trusted. That's what my buddy John is.
Yeah. It's right there on the front page. A lot of those guys who have TV shows, including a bunch of people from Shark Tank, some of them do marketing. This is a really common theme of taking advantage of that. I don't mean taking advantage of their audience, but utilizing the audience, right? There you go.
Yeah, and they are high quality because I've been on the receiving end of many of those leads. And it's not me who pays for them, it's my buddy John. But him and I, we're always talking shop, and I just went to lunch with him last Tuesday, and we're just, he's a good friend of mine. And not only that, we did a radio show together, and he gives me a lot of referrals, and I'm all about, trying to help people in our group because I've seen success with these types of leads. We got to get, another one we got to get is Pete Sanchez. That guy is
I've already tried to get Pete Sanchez. He's turned me down too many times.
Has he really?
And no, he's just usually busy.
Yeah, but
he's a busy guy. He's got a lot of people signed up underneath him. He's a busy real estate agent. I'll get him on one of the Wednesday calls.
Yeah, we really should, because he's a wealth of information for lead generation.
Yeah, we need to go back to the once a month routine of having a guest in and utilizing some of the people that we both know. Certainly, I know quite a few people, and I just don't have them on. It's not by anything other than I keep forgetting that I want to do that until the last minute. But yeah, we can go back to that. So we'll start that up again in April for you guys. Wait, April's over. Wait, is Wednesday the last Wednesday of the month? I think we can find a guest for Wednesday, for the last Wednesday of the month, I think. I'd have to look. Is there still a Wednesday left in this month? There is not. Wednesday to the 3rd. We could do the 1st of May. All right, let's jump into some of the news that's going on. They have the March consumer confidence numbers on DS News. What I found really interesting about this particular piece, because they're almost all AI generated at this point, like they just put data together, and their site is just really data driven these days. But number one, there is a great chart that you can right click and save the image as, right, to use for marketing, since we're continuing with our e-marketing theme. And it's really quite simple. 79% believe it's a bad time to buy, and 40% believe it's a bad time to sell, right? And that by itself gives you up till March figures. Use this chart. It's a very easy, we've done it a million times, right? I'll do it one time really quick. So I can add this to the eFarming series. This is just utilizing market data. Go to your Facebook page, which is horribly slow today. What's going on at Facebook, for goodness sakes? Let's go to our real estate collapse page, which we use here often. We could certainly check our numbers from the other day. Our home buyers be like. Let's check our insights on that from yesterday. Nobody, did I share this even? I shared it 4 times. 1 impression, 1 reach, and 4 engagements. Well, it got 4 clicks, Fred. Not horrible, considering. All things considered, I didn't really try all that hard on it. It was just one of those doing memes kind of things. So for this one, you're just going to add your photo, just like we do. And again, this would be just a simple engagement question. Is for you, is now the right time to buy or sell. So my only point to this would be to create engagement and start conversation. And of course, change the algorithm, which is everything. And always, and click, like, share. Real estate collapse. I'm up to 2 followers, Fred. I am killing it. Check my location. Today I'll be in LA, and then post it. That's it. The only thing is the other one that a lot of people do that works a lot faster, click thumbs up if it's the right time to sell. Click this button if it's not I've seen a lot of those. Those are extremely popular as well. But there you go. That's the basic marketing for that particular piece. Again, less than a couple of minutes worth of work and just scanning through the headlines and pulling a graph off. What I really liked about this piece, Fred, they did a complete home purchase sentiment index, the HPSI, right? Fannie Mae's home purchase sentiment index, HPSI, increased in March, and they broke it down by different categories, right? So is it a good / bad time to buy? Okay, the percentage stayed unchanged. 20% say it's the right time to buy, and about 79% say it's not the right time to buy. They claim that they rounded it, and they're still missing 1% who were probably undecided or whatever that 1% falls into. So let's talk about buying, because buying is still a thing right now. And most of the offers that I've talked to from people doing red videos across the country, there's still cash offers. What do you think it would take to get traditional people getting traditional loans again and create a better sentiment from your perspective?
Lower interest rates. That's it. Because these people are remembering where the rates were, and they're 4% higher. So they're just, in their mind, waiting for the rates to come down.
So from your perspective, do you think they will ever come back to something reasonable? Because in my opinion right now, I think they're very reasonable. But then again, I was around in the 90s when things were very unreasonable.
So those are, look at the 2 responses that we just got. Okay, I know Rick is in the mortgage business here locally in SoCal, and James is exactly what we've been talking about on some of these coaching calls with FHA and VA loans, both being assumable. So those, and so if I was James, because we've discussed it, if I was anybody, and I've talked to John about this, it's a very long cycle. It's not going to happen overnight. But the marketing efforts that I would put into place if I was a realtor today is getting a list of all FHA, and I got a list. Me and John got a list. There were about 1,100 people in our area, or maybe a little more. I can't remember.
Statistically speaking, 10% of that list is having difficulties making payments.
So John and I were going to start marketing to everybody who bought or refinanced their home in March of 2020 through this December of 2021, even up to February and March, because the rate still stayed a little bit low into 2022. Basically, market to that list of all FHA and VA loans. Those loans are all assumable, and those loans The homeowners don't know it. The listing agents don't know it, but a smart realtor, a smart realtor can notify those homeowners and say, did you know? Did you know that your mortgage is assumable? Now, here's the thing. When you do that marketing, and this is what me and John and I were talking about, when you do that type of marketing, FHA buyers, they're used to putting 3.5% down, right? But we all know that there's a lot of cash buyers right now. So if you have an FHA loan at 3.2%, where the current market is up in the 5s and 6s, and you can market that property, hey, keep some of your cash in the bank, right? Or keep your cash in a money market fund paying you 4.5%, where your interest rate on your mortgage is lower than what you would get by keeping it in a 7-day money market yield account at 4.5% at Fidelity Investments or wherever you have your money. And you can basically, instead of paying through, and then get a tax write-off, of course. The tax write-off is the mortgage interest that you pay on your mortgage. Those are great property owners to market to. No, not 2022. I would go to March of 2022, but the rates changed in January 1st of 2022. But there was a lot of people that, the business was so busy back then that some of them took another 30 days to close their loan. So, I would go up to February of 2022, maximum, February or March. And if you do that, you're going to find a lot of people that bought homes in that time period, got really low interest rates in that time period. And that's not even to discuss all of the FHA and VA loans that were closed during that time. And that could have been just a straight refinance. It didn't have to be a purchase, but I would definitely stick with the purchases because for sure that they got those rates. And it'd be interesting to find out from the title guys if a refinance occurred during those times. And if a refinance occurred during those times, then you would have a larger list. And again, when these people sell, they're going to have equity, and a lot of buyers are paying cash. So you can say to the buyer, hey, guess what? You don't have to pay cash when you can get more money putting your money in a 7-day money market at 4.5% than you could by paying on a 2.75% mortgage, and therefore getting a tax write-off of mortgage interest. And if the money's in your bank, obviously there is no tax write-off. So those are just things that I'm not necessarily looking for defaults. I'm just looking for listings, and I'm looking to be able to market that listing and say, did you know that you could assume this loan? And did you know that the interest rate on this loan that is assumable is 2 or 3 percentage points below the current market rates? It's just a marketing ploy, a marketing suggestion. And it doesn't mean that they're going to all be able to come up with the cash down payment to bring, whatever it is the property is worth, whatever it is that the property is selling for, whatever it is that the loan balance is. And there may be a $200,000 discrepancy there, between the selling price and the loan balance, but we're all looking for marketing angles, and it's great to be able to market, hey, if you assume this loan, you can get this rate. It's just good marketing.
Yeah, and I think the next move, I would have met, you've got names and addresses, maybe occasionally a phone number, Fred. The other thing I might recommend if you do go down this road, again, Fiverr, which I've recommended a million times, but you're looking for find, yeah, okay, I don't need that. Find email addresses. Okay. Of course you want me to sign in. Okay. So there are multiple people. I will collect emails and phone numbers for your list. And you want to find somebody who's done it, has a high star rating on 1,000 people. There are many different services that do it. Fiverr is probably the most reputable because they vet and they rate openly. But I would send 1,100 names off to see if I could get some more data on them. That would be one of the moves I do, Fred. Just as a marketing concept for all of you to join in on. Good, bad time to sell, Fred. The percentage of respondents who say it is a good time to sell the home has increased to from 54% to 58%, while the percentage who say it's a bad time to sell is at 44%. I still can't, I think it's a great time to sell. I don't know why it's not 100. And here's why. We're really at one of the highest equity points for almost every single market. I don't know why this number is so 50-50. Do you have any possible insight on why people still do the 50-50 when you are literally at peak equity?
Lack of knowledge.
I'd go
You
with
got
that.
to educate them. You got to educate the sellers. And you got to tell them, look, our economy's in a mess. And you got to go Steve Hawks on them. And you got to say, look, we have three choices. The Fed can either keep raising interest rates, the Fed can keep rates the same, or the Fed can lower interest rates. Let's discuss all three. And you got to have that conversation with the seller. And then you got to say what you recommend after you have that conversation. And if you do that, you're going to be a lot smarter than the realtor that came in before you, and a lot smarter than the realtor that came in after you. And then you talk, after you go over that, then you talk about your marketing plan, how you're going to get their house sold if they decide to sell. But first, you got to tell them why it's such a good time to sell. And that's, we all in this group have enough knowledge to be able to accomplish that goal very effectively. And I always back my stuff up with data. I show them articles. And then I also tell them when I'm showing these articles, I want you to know there's going to be another article that says that it's not a good time to sell. But let's get, let's be philosophical. Let's have some common sense about this. What do you think is going to happen to crime and theft and homelessness if the Fed keeps raising interest rates? Have you been to downtown LA lately?
Yeah, no kidding.
Okay, ask that question to the seller. And then you ask them, what do you think is going to happen to the economy if we lower interest rates? Ask that to the seller and see what they say.
Yep.
Those are really good questions to ask somebody.
I would say on my part, because I have been put into this conversation over the last several weeks. Just learn these basic percentages. You would be surprised at how much expertise and connection you create with somebody who wants to know about the market by knowing just some basic percentages for your individual market, right? How many cash, how many people are buying with loans? What's the interest, just real basic stuff. But when I start talking percentages, Fred, I can see that's when they start to increase the number of questions they start to ask me. Now, I've done nothing but read a report, right? Now, these are all Fannie Mae, figures, right? So they're fairly reputable. The problem is these are dragging trail reports. This is March. We're already into, this is up till March. Most of these reports drag, which to me, if you pull news articles right now, they're still talking about the February bump where prices went back up. Well, yeah, we know why prices went up in February. The interest rate was non-existent, and then they raised the rate right behind it. So then when they get to March, they're going to show a decrease in numbers. And now when they get through with April, because they lowered the rate again, they're going to show an increase. It's ridiculous. What they're doing right now with the overall economy, I think reports like this, consumer confidence reports, surveys done with, as they put it, respondents, I think these hold boots on the ground type information so that when you're talking to a regular person, well, it depends, is the right time to sell. Are you asking me, or are you asking what most people think? Right now, about 58% of people right now think it's the right time to sell, while another 44% say, no, it's not. And I would, if you're asking me directly that question, I would tell you it's 100% the best time to sell if you're in a position to sell, because this is the most equity your property is going to have for the foreseeable future. And here's why this is interesting, Fred. It's my lead into the next one, which is home price expectation, right? The percentage of respondents who say home prices will go up in the next 12 months increased from 30 to 32%. First of all, how is it that if I were to talk to 3 people out of 10, they actually believe their market's going to go up? Let's use a city like San Diego, which has been San Francisco, bloodbath since San Francisco. It's a bloodbath, right? Since June, and probably before that. You're telling me that if I ran into 3 people, they're going to tell me the market's going to go up in the next 12 months? Like, the real estate market doesn't behave that way ever. The national numbers are all averaged out by the top metros. So they're showing a decline. To believe that, well, they surveyed. And again, here's why I think this information's so critical and why we do it on Wednesday. This is what regular people think. Until you go to a bar, or you go to a restaurant, or you sit down, or you're just sitting and chatting with the person next to you, or you're at a farmer's market and start to have these conversations. These are very real feelings that people have. Nothing on here is that surprising to me, other than they're just documented. I mean, I've met people and they all feel this way, right? But to know that there is a percentage of people, 30%, right, and it's increased, that the prices are going to go up. Again, Fred, we're back to it. Education is everything. This is, okay, let's talk about your particular market. What are we talking about? Well, I'm in, city XYZ. Okay, let's go on Zillow and take a look and see if that information is correct. You believe in Zillow data, don't you? Oh, of course, everybody uses Zillow, right? I can easily beat this 30% easily with Zillow data for almost every market. Even, in fact, I was doing this last week or the week before. Orange County's finally starting to show some minor declines. They're not tremendous, but do I think they're going to get a bump from everything that's happened with the interest rates? They might. But again, it's a supply and demand issue. These are all very soft landing markets. We're not talking Phoenix. We're not talking Seattle. We're not talking Boise. We're not talking places in Ohio, northern Florida. there are markets that are really having difficulties, right? So it's critical. I think home price expectation, this came up from Tina Hambleton last week or the week before, when they go, well, you run into people who actually think this way. What's your dispute on it? I go, I'd pull a Zillow. I don't, can you see any other way? If you were going to run into, let's say you were going to talk to 10 people today for Palm Springs area, right, Fred? And you were going to get into a conversation about home prices going up in Palm Springs, right? What is the dispute? Like, what's the counter to that?
The counter to home prices going up?
Up in the next 12 months.
Well, I can tell you both reasons.
Go for it.
Right where on that page you were on,
Yeah.
right below it, this was the craziest thing, but it said interest rate expectations, mortgage rate expectations. Okay. Now that is flat out crystal ball stuff. That is flat out like the consumers are absolutely clueless. You know, I'm saying 90% of them are absolutely clueless what causes interest rates to go up and what causes interest rates to go down. Like, for example, if you want to have fun, next time you talk to a homeowner, ask them this simple question. What happens to mortgage interest rates when inflation comes down? Just ask them that question. Or ask them the question, what happens to mortgage interest rates when inflation increases? Just ask them that question, right? And whatever the answer is to that question, pay attention to it and then educate them, because home price expectations are in direct correlation with what is going to happen to mortgage interest rates. And that's why I asked the simple question, are you aware of what the Fed is trying to do? Are you aware that the Fed wants to lower housing prices? Are you aware of that? But the economy is such a mess right now that they have three choices. So I asked them, if you think interest rates are going to come down, what do you think is going to happen to housing prices? Because there's an inventory shortage right now.
Yeah, it's still
We
supply
know.
and demand for sure.
So we know that with the current level of inventory and lower interest rates, I guarantee you housing prices are going to go up. So what the lesser of two evils is that they're going to lower interest rates and we're going to have higher inflation. That's the lesser of two evils, because the other evil is continuing to raise interest rates, which they said they're not going to do. But if they continued to do that to lower housing prices, which will naturally occur to slow down the market, then guess what's going to happen? Housing prices are going to come down. It's so for someone to say mortgage rates will come down in the next 12 months, how the hell can they say that? The reason that I'm saying that is, like, what data do you have to support that? It's impossible to just say that. It is It is
It's
pure,
it's pure speculation. It's
it's pure
impossible.
speculation.
But
It
and
is-
if you look at these from realistic standpoints, that's why I do it all the time. So if we talk to 10 people, you're telling me that one person out of that 10 believes that the rates are going to go down. Let's go with the next group, right? That the rates are going to go up, right? That's half the group. That means half the people we run into believe that the rates are going to go up. Well, over the last several weeks, that's incorrect, right? And then there's another 2 or 3 out of that pile, right? That believe they're going to stay about the same. That this particular category tells me people are just straight up guessing because they're not being fed any information about the current economy. And I know that for a fact. All you have to do is type in, headlines about the economy, and you will see that generally speaking, Google tailors what information goes out. And the kind of information that's going out. Not a lot of people talking about this stuff right now.
well,
There aren't
you know
great
what?
sources. Nobody's going to DS News for this kind of information. This article should have been blown up and been viewed a million times. This should have been floated around. I had to look around for this thing, Fred.
Well, here's the thing, Lee. You can't speculate and say that housing prices are going to go up or down unless you have some type of knowledge of what's going to go on in the mortgage interest rate arena. Because the first thing that the Fed started doing to implement their plan, and what was their plan? Their plan was to decrease housing prices. That was their plan, the housing price reset. Remember that? Okay. So what did they do to make that happen? I'll tell you exactly what they did. They started raising short-term interest rates. That's what they did. And how many times did they do it? A bunch of times. So if they raised interest rates a bunch of times, guess what? In order to reverse it, all they have to do is lower interest rates a bunch of times. And they will. They will, because it will be the lesser of two evils. And that is crime, unemployment, theft, homelessness. I mean, when California has more people leaving the state than producing babies in people's homes that live in the state, and there's more families leaving than being created, guess what? That is eventually going to be a problem. So it's inevitable what's coming down the pipe if they continue on the current path. And the current path is now they're going to say, oh, we're done raising interest rates. Okay, so now we got to wait 6 months to see how the economy reacts to the last rate hike. Because the economy lags 6 months behind any Fed decision on interest rates. So we're not going to find out until 6 months from now what Fed policy and what raising interest rates did a month or two ago to what's going to happen in the economy. So we got to wait 4 or 5 months. We got 4 or 5 months left to see how the economy reacts to those, to Yellen raising rates. Yeah. And that's what I'll put on my tombstone when I die, because it's very, very easy. This is not incredibly difficult economics to figure out. We have inventory issues. We have affordability issues.
Well, you know, Biden, I'm looking at the current Biden rollout plan from March, right? Who lauded the plan. If enacted, the budget request would provide substantial federal investment in affordable homes and increase. And when you start to break this thing down, it's hilarious. 100 million for down payment assistance, Fred. How quick would 100 million be burned for down payment assistance?
Well, let's talk about that.
Look at this. The home request also includes 100 million for new home down payment assistance program for first generation home buyers in low to moderate incomes. 100. How much was California's?
300 million.
And it was gone in how many seconds?
Well, it was
like less than a week, I thought.
It was like really fast. Yeah, it was super fast. It was I took a $700,000 property and I said 20% down and $140,000 and I divided that by 300 million and it was like 1,875 homes.
This plan that he has is implausible. It's not, you know, the fact that there's a question, he's going to increase the supply of affordable housing financed by existing HUD programs. Don't you need supply, Fred? I mean, supply is the important key word in this sentence. Where's the supply going to come from? Are they creating the supply? I mean, how long would it take? Let's just say the government was going to go into the business of building subsidized housing or a HUD subsidized housing in all of the major metros, right? Let's just say that we're going to throw $1 trillion at the housing thing, right? Why not? You know, just write a check. They'll print money. If they started right now and it got approved by everybody, okay, which it wouldn't, but let's just hypothetically say that after a week, everybody came together, both the right and the left, and we agree we're going to put $1 trillion towards housing for all of the United States and all the major metros so that everybody has a chance to have housing, right? We believe it will help with homelessness. We believe all of it across the board, right? We're throwing $1 trillion. If they started today and started constructing or buying or renovating, a year. And I would say that's brutally fast, Fred. Let's say they were fast tracking states and city governments for building condos and, you know, apartment buildings, whatever. A year before you saw any effect. And based on the current economy, the supply thing kills me. The one thing that has kept this entire market aloft is the supply and demand issue. That's why I believe investors are back. There is no supply, so they're just buying whatever they can get.
I'll tell you, right now, that money was gobbled up so quickly by Californians buying homes that I think Byron said it in 10 days. Yeah, 10 days. I think it was faster than that. But basically, it was somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 applications.
Well, and think about what they're saying. They're going to only put $1.8 billion into this program. $1.8 billion for a state would be impressive.
So if California,
not the country, Fred, not the country.
Yeah.
And they're going to increase of 300 million over 2023. And this is ridiculous. We're doing something that looks good on paper. And then we're going to take a photo op with the first people who move in, right? We're going to show diversity in that photo. We're going to show that we're making housing affordable when in fact evictions are on the climb on apartment buildings. Like, there's all kinds of things going on, and they're making it hard in New York and even San Diego on still evicting people who haven't made payments. This is a horrible concept. They should just keep doing what they're doing. Everything will balance out. This is my problem back in 2010. They figured out a way to bottom out the market by getting rid of REOs and cutting off the supply of additional properties coming on the market, which would have come through via REO, by creating, that diversification that allowed, Wall Street companies like BlackRock to start purchasing in bundle directly from the banks without having to go through massive work. Our supply has dwindled since over the last decade ridiculously, Fred. And here we are again. You gave everybody a 2% interest rate. So why do 33% not really care at all? You gave them a 2 or 3% interest rate and they refinanced. That's the truth. They're not going to sell. They don't want to sell. Anybody who buys now, you're going to be penalized and pay to subsidize people going into this HUD program or into FHA programs by being their insurance policy, by paying a little bit more because you are in a better position. How long till this catches up? Well, don't worry, we're not going to foreclose on people. How long till people figure out you're not foreclosing on people who aren't making payments? I mean, it didn't take too long in 2010 for people to learn about strategic defaults. I'm really scared at what they're trying to do to make housing affordable, Fred. It's ridiculous.
I think that with the job growth, and we all have opinions about those numbers, right? But I think that people are getting their jobs back and they have these forbearances, and now people are starting to make the payments again. And I think a lot of those properties that went into foreclosure or that were not making payments, that were in default, I think those are being reinstated because those people have equity and they realize that if they don't make the payments, that they're going to lose their home and their equity. And unless you're smart enough to know to fill out a form to ask for the difference in the selling price of the home and the mortgage balance, unless you're smart enough to know that as a homeowner, then you're going to lose that equity too. So to me, when I look at this stuff and I hear this stuff, I think a lot of people have reinstated started paying on their mortgages again because supposedly people are getting their jobs back. I don't know what the default numbers are currently.
They're really not disclosed. I mean, even Adam's data's information is skewed. How many people are in a deferral state that still haven't made their first payment from their 18-month deferral? If we're not going to measure that, are we going to measure people that have forbearance agreements who haven't made, based on the numbers they put out, you're talking anywhere from 3 to 6 million people who, my best guess, and it's a pretty accurate one because I look at this stuff every day, haven't made a payment on their house. How long are we going to keep doing that? How long does this keep going? Let's wrap this up because I have to go to a doctor's appointment, Fred. Job loss concern. Percentage of respondents who say they are not concerned about losing their job in the next 12 months increased from 73 to 78%, while the percentage who say they are concerned decreased from 24 to 21. Just for a record, because we do it all the times, here's layoffs.fyi. Again, the number grew since we did this last week. We are now at 183,801 employees laid off just in 2023. So once again, Fred, this is another one of those crazy, what era, like, what do you guys, what data are they taking in that even if I was a Walmart employee, if Walmart had a bad month, they'd lay off staff, Fred. They'd lay off people in the stores. They just would. I mean, it's just that simple. So this is another one of those where education is monumental. And then lastly, household income, the percentage of respondents who say their household income is significantly higher, will be significantly, say their household income is significantly higher than it was 12 months ago, decreased from 22 to 20%, while the percentage who say their household income significantly lowered decreased from 12 to 11%. The percentage who say their household income is about the same, from 63 to 68. As a result, the net share of those who say their household income is significantly higher than it was 12 months ago decreased 2 percentage points. This is crazy. I went to the market yesterday. When I spend $100 for 3 bags of groceries, Fred, how is household incomes not decreasing? I don't buy it. Gas is, at least here in California, what, $5 a gallon? It's impossible. It's improbable. This is, once again, people not knowing their numbers. I just simply have to believe that people don't even know their own nut. They just don't. That to me is crazy.
Just like I've mentioned many times before, I have an Excel spreadsheet that I was using during the loan modification eras and the people that were in default. And I would email that to anybody who wants it. I've been asked for it a number of times from people in this group, and I'm happy to share it with anybody. But basically, it goes down the list of all your monthly expenses, and it makes you look hard at what you spend money on. And for people that are losing their homes to foreclosure, they need to know what their numbers are so they can figure out ways to cut expenses and save their homes if it's possible. But once you lose your job, it's kind of your SOL on that. But yeah, you gotta know your numbers and you gotta know what your expenses are, and maybe ordering, Starbucks on a daily basis is not the best way to help save money. So
More importantly, learning how to have this conversation with your potential buyer or your potential seller on any of these topics, and being able to, I always say, dispute with numbers, dispute with math. It's the easiest route to go. Certainly no percentages. We do this call each and every Wednesday. For those of you who didn't make it, who are watching the replay, I hope you enjoy it. Thursday, 9 a.m. for all of you with the link. We will be doing a marketing call tomorrow at 9 a.m. So please feel free to join us. We'll continue the eFarming series. I will find yet another eFarming technique that you can all use. And until then, we look forward to seeing you tomorrow at 9 a.m.